Sports Shop and on mixlr.com/wake up call DT. I hope you're all having yourselves a terrific morning, coming off a fantastic weekend. I hope it all is going well. Hope you're having a good time. Hope you're making the most of the life you have. Because if you're not doing that, well, then with all due respect, what are you doing? So welcome here this morning, and much positivity being sent your way today. There's blue skies. I love that. I haven't seen blue skies in Syracuse in a while, so actually that's not true. I saw blue skies yesterday. What am I talking about? But today it's like a different, it's like a painted blue. There's blue, there's a little cloud, then there's some more blue. It's very pretty. So I'm having a great morning. I want to welcome you to the Cafe Kubal Studios. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're taking the time to take the time. And I hope that, you woke up today doing what's best for you, right? Taking care of yourself. We all get caught in the craziness of life, and I hope that the craziness of life hasn't gotten you to a point where you feel suffocated. But if you do, take a deep breath like we talked about on Friday's show. Just and know that it's going to be okay. So be the best you can be and be positive. We're inside the Cafe Kubal Studios, 3501 James Street, 401 South Salina Street, 208 North Townsend Street, all in Syracuse, as well as on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road in North Syracuse, New York at Sweetheart Corners in their first ever drive-through location, at 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, and at their location inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital in downtown Syracuse. Big shout out to Cafe Kubal. Awesome show coming up for you today. In just a moment, we're going to be joined by Todd Philcox, going to be on the broadcast here where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So excited to have Todd on the broadcast here as we get him set onto the show. And so we'll have Todd Philcox coming on. Todd is a former Syracuse quarterback and former Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback, and he's going to be on the show speaking about both. So Todd Philcox just came on the line. We're going to have him join us in just a moment where sports meets that thing called life. And then from there, we're going to jump into your thoughts on the Syracuse transfer portal and what's going on. I put up the list of all the players that are transferring out of Syracuse. Syracuse has more transfers leaving than any other ACC school. Of the 14 member institutions of the ACC, Syracuse has more players leaving and no players at this point coming in. I asked your thoughts on it, and you provided many. We'll get into those later on in hour number one, and we'll round out today's show with Matt Gallagher joining the broadcast, 2021 state champion for Class B in New York State for high school football. Matt Gallagher will be rejoining the show. So plenty coming up here. Very excited for all that is to be. And first and foremost, we have Todd Philcox on the line. So let's bring him in right now. Todd, how are we doing today?
Hey, good morning, Dan. Doing great. How about you?
Doing very well, and we lost you there for a second there. So we'll welcome you in here again, Todd. How's everything been?
I'm doing great. Hopefully our connection is good. Things are all good down here in Florida, and hope things are well in Syracuse as well.
Yeah, things are going very well. And Todd, to let everybody know, kind of if they don't know what you're doing now before we get into everything, I love to share with everybody the business that you have and what you've been doing and how you kind of navigated the pandemic. So share that with everybody.
Well, yeah, I'm on my third or fourth career now. I've been obviously pretty fortunate to spend some time in the NFL, and then I held a real job in the financial services for a while, and now I'm a charter fishing captain. So for about the past 15 years, I've been taking people out fishing here in the Jacksonville, Florida area, and enjoying our waterways, fishing light tackle down here for our primary species is redfish, and catch a few others as well. But it's a fun life, something I love to do, and that's what I've been doing for about 15 years now.
Yeah, and it's such an awesome thing that, you can do something that you love and something that you appreciate, and there's so much meaning in that, and so, I'm happy for you. I'm always happy for you to hear something like that, and to know that, you're working hard and having fun and, providing something great for people down there in the Jacksonville area and beyond. And I got to ask you this because, it's kind of funny how the two topics that I wanted to talk on today are two that you're very connected with, obviously, and spending time with the Jaguars and spending time with Syracuse. We'll start down in Jacksonville. What is going on? I mean, I have covered this team for the better part of over a decade. and I've been down there. I interviewed Urban Meyer earlier this season. What is happening in Jacksonville right now?
Not a whole lot of good as far as the Jaguars go. I'm not sure. I'm as probably perplexed as about anybody on how a season that is supposed to be, rebuilding, and you really almost have a free pass on it. All you got to do is show a little bit of improvement and some ability to be competitive in football games. And unfortunately, the Jaguars are going the wrong direction. And with that, you get into all the extraneous news as far as quarrels within the team and with the coaches and so on. So, I guess they say in football and everything else in life, when you're winning, all those little things nobody cares about. But when you've shown to be completely inept on the field and you can't win a game, then every little thing becomes glaringly obvious.
Yeah, and like you said, show a little bit of improvement, and it seems like they can get away with it. What did you think of the Urban Meyer hire originally? The fact that he's been successful, won championships with Florida, won a championship with Ohio State, but there's his career's kind of been marred with other things going on and confusion, and he takes a job and then he says it's like he's sick, he's got to take care of his health, then he shows up somewhere else. How did you take the Urban Meyer hire itself?
Yeah, now I guess my initial thoughts were first off that he would not have been my choice, and that's probably only because he hadn't coached in the NFL, and I really didn't know how he could, run an NFL team. Certainly seeing his success in the past, I had some hope that, hey, he's a guy who knows how to win, and he's gotten the best out of his players, and hopefully he can do that here. I think the hardest thing as an NFL coach to do is to get that roster to play at a level that they wouldn't naturally play at. Because these guys are all, you got a lot of guys making a lot of money.
Yeah.
Who obviously for their own careers will put the effort out to try to advance their career. But there's a lot of things that have to get done on a football field that, it's not natural for a human being to do. And I always say, you're asking guys, you're giving them $5 million and saying, all right, go throw yourself in front of a bus and get run over. And you tell me, would the average human do that? Are they going to, now that they've got $5 million in the bank, are they going to go kill themselves and jump in front of a bus? Probably not. And I think that's the hardest thing you can get these guys to do. They obviously, you get to that point, you love the game, you're a competitor, you're the best at what you do. But the best NFL coaches have the ability to get that proverbial 110% out of a player. And I didn't know anything about Urban Meyer. I thought there were some coaches out there that might have that ability to bring guys up to a new level. I like the Jets hire, that Robert Saleh. I think he's a good coach. I think he's going to end up being quite successful. I think the Jets organization's a little difficult, but I think the Jaguar organization has been one where the owner is willing to do whatever it takes to win. Unfortunately, the choices that he has made just haven't panned out.
So for you, who would have been on your list? If you were Shad Khan, who were some of the guys you thought maybe would have made a good fit in Jacksonville?
Like I mentioned, I like the guy the Jets hired, even though he's not having great success either. But I think he's a guy who's always historically gotten his players to play at a level that's above and beyond maybe what they would have played otherwise. Beyond that, I'm not that plugged in. I'm just an average fan as well as like most people. I just want to see some success. But having an NFL track record, I think, is valuable. I think seeing the way that this coaching staff has handled Trevor Lawrence, I think, is indicative that they really were kind of clueless on how to bring him into this league and how to enable him to have success. Going from the first game when they come out against the average Houston team and, throw the ball 50 times and put it all on his shoulders. He wasn't ready for that. And yet here we are in the first game, and it's just a complete disaster offensively. and you got to hold the coaches responsible for that.
No, absolutely. And that coming here from Todd Philcox this morning, joining Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, a Syracuse Orange and a Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback alum. I agree with you wholeheartedly that this thing has been mismanaged, mishandled, and misunderstood. And I think that, James Robinson has been really a bright spot. The defense has had some moments, but, beyond that, it's been confusing. And you and I both know that at your position, you can't really do much when you're not protected. And the offensive line, albeit talented guys, has really never stayed healthy where all five of them are playing. With Brandon Linder as well as A.J. Cann, Jawan Taylor, Cam Robinson, Andrew Norwell, over the years, those five have not been out there together more often than not. One guy goes down, then two guys go down, then another guy goes down, then this guy comes back, and this guy goes down, this guy comes back for 3 days, and then he's back out. And so as a former quarterback, do you think that that's the biggest issue, that Jacksonville really needs to just kind of part ways with the veteran line that they have that can't stay healthy and find new blood out there? Take a guy like Walker Little they got from Stanford and maybe keep him on the roster and keep building him up, but to look elsewhere, because, it really doesn't matter how talented these guys are if they can't stay on the field, and Jacksonville really has struggled to keep all five of those starting offensive linemen on the field at the same time.
Yeah, I'd go in even a broader picture, and just, obviously the Jaguars on a talent level are deficient in so many areas, and they just have had a complete inability to bring in draft choices that are impactful on the organization, and it's been a problem for years. It's not just this newest regime's only been here a year, so you hope they can turn it around and begin to bring in some players that are impactful and get them into a cohesive kind of team unit where they're working together and making each other better, and not detracting from each other's performance. We had things yesterday. I watched the entire game. For some reason, it was painful. But you got receivers running into each other, dropping balls. These guys that are supposed to be the linchpins of the offense are dropping ball after ball. We weren't able to run the ball. I think teams know now that if we can't run the ball, we can't do anything. So they're going to take the running game away. James Robinson's banged up. He's been a workhorse and probably the most valuable player on the team. And yet, for some reason, this coaching staff feels the need to bench him. James Robinson's more valuable to this organization than any single coach on that in the organization. And them putting him on the bench is absurd. So I don't know if they can recover from this, to be honest with you. I think change would probably do the organization good, even though Meyer's only been here 1 year.
Yeah, and for you, once there was kind of like the off the field stuff going on with Urban Meyer, and he doesn't take the plane home, and then there's video out there and whatnot. How did you handle that? The team is losing, the team is struggling. This is your figurehead. This is your leader. This is the guy that they're supposed to listen to in the locker room. And there's video of this that's not his wife. There's pictures of it. And then, now allegedly he's calling out players, calling out assistant coaches. It sounds like the respect factor and the leadership factor is not there. I go back to Doug Marrone, and I don't think that he had the respect of the locker room. I didn't think he commanded it. The funny thing for me is that Gus Bradley, and I've been in the locker room throughout these coaches and many of them, and Gus Bradley, even though he didn't win many games, he seemed like he had respect. And it seemed like he really cared. It didn't seem like Doug had it. It didn't seem like, I really saw it from really anybody there. Nate Hackett, I think, had a good relationship there. He had a good relationship with Blake Bortles, was trying to build him up and whatnot. But if you were within this organization and you got a coach that tells the team, go back on the plane, I'll meet you guys there, and then you see all these videos and pictures up, how do you How do you respect somebody like that?
Yeah, I mean, that was, I don't know, that was one of those things. It was unfortunate, silly to a degree. It's unfortunate the age we're in where, you can set somebody up with an iPhone and pretty much ruin their career just by, doing something like that, which fortunately wasn't around 30 years ago. So I don't know how much I put in that. I mean, coaches, it's whatever night it was, a Thursday night. People get on the plane, go home. If a coach has family in town, wants to stay, so be it. I don't think that's an issue as much as, obviously the respect in the locker room and, like I say, the ability to get that team to play at a level above and beyond where they might otherwise play. And that's the measure of coach. And I think obviously this organization has had great difficulty doing that, aside from the 1 year and whatever it was, 2017 or so. So that's the challenge.
Some people have said Darrell Bevel, who's on the staff, or Charlie Strong would be good fits to be a head coach. Do you want to see somebody from within this staff rise, or do you want to just see them start a new plan?
I would say start fresh from outside. I haven't seen anything, within this staff or really with any of the units on this team that have kind of stood out as being exemplary and excelling in any manner. So I don't know how you would find anybody. I mean, both those guys have had success to some degree, and that's the hard part, honestly. And at any organization, college or professional, is if you're going to make a change, you better have an idea to make a change to somebody better. And it's somewhat of a wild card, right? I mean, you take a young coach who hasn't coached before. Nobody knows how that individual is going to ultimately perform. And it's tough. You change for the sake of change. It doesn't help unless the change is a positive change.
Very true. Love those words. Change for the sake of change is not a positive thing. I mean, that's just to change for the sake of it doesn't mean that it makes it better. If it's not positive change, it's not worth it. So that coming from Todd Philcox here this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Todd, to shift to another team that you have been a part of, the Syracuse Orange. Your thoughts? Syracuse comes out of this season. Dino has been with the team for 6 seasons. He is 4-8, 10-3 with Schaefer's quarterback and a bunch of Schaefer's recruits. Then he, with his total team, 5-7, 1-10, and 5-7. He has been retained by Syracuse. John Wildhack, the director of athletics there, I was there at the press conference and asked him questions, and he decided to keep Dino. Kind of atypical that you see an AD step to a podium and talk about why he's keeping a coach and not firing them. But it happened in Virginia Tech, and then they fired Justin Fuente the next year. Your thoughts on heading into year 7 with Dino, with everything that's been going on? 15 players in the transfer portal. More players transferred after the news that he was going to be retained. His coaches have either been fired or have left in the majority. There's only There's only 5 people left from the original staff. 2 of them are not direct coaches. And then there's another person that's there for strength training and whatnot. So really, only 2 assistant coaches are still there. He's changed multiple coordinators and fired some people this year. Had some people leave. Just had the wide receivers coach who was here for a half a second leave to go to Kansas. So, I mean, this year 7 is not just, hey, we're keeping Dino, we think he's got something. This is year 7 with more players in the transfer portal than anybody in the ACC. This is arguably a time where he's going to have to fill maybe 40 roster spots by February. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a long list of things that make it very difficult to be successful. Another Syracuse watching them. We get a number of games given the ACC network on TV here, and I watch as many as I can. And it was tough, and I didn't like a lot of the personnel decisions made by Coach Babers. The fact that Tommy DeVito, was pushed out and then left, I think, essentially doomed us to being a mediocre to less than mediocre team. thought, I watched that early in the season Rutgers game from start to finish. I thought DeVito was probably playing his best football that I'd seen him play in a long time. There were a few factors that happened that kept us out of the end zone earlier in the game, like fumbles and penalties on, other players. He gets pulled from the game, and the offense becomes completely inept, and we lose a game that we should have won. I watched a lot of the games with what's the new quarterback, Schaefer, is that his name?
Schrader. Yeah.
Yeah, Schrader. And he's a kid who's tough as nails, runs hard. Initially seemed to be a little bit too quiet and meek on the field, but I think became a leader. But to me, he's one-dimensional, and the offense that we were running for the second half of the season was not capable of beating any decent Division I college team. Everybody knew we couldn't throw the ball. We had to run it. It took the effectiveness of the running back out of the game. Tucker, who's phenomenal. Teams they could stack the line of scrimmage, and they knew we weren't going to beat them because we couldn't throw the ball from the pocket.
Yeah.
And I think that's the decision that, Coach Babers made, and then he goes and fires his offensive coordinator. I don't know who's he going to bring in. Somebody run the wishbone? I mean, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
Those are the questions that you gotta wonder.
Yeah,
I don't know about all these guys transferring. I heard of a couple of them. Obviously, the receivers, Tommy DeVito, the quarterback. I think we're losing good players, and it's hard to get good players, up to Syracuse competing in the ACC when they can go to Florida State or Clemson or schools, down south that have a little bit. I'm not sure if they have more tradition, but I think they have a little bit more recruiting cachet right now, and it's tough. But it was certainly we have to find a way to get the program back to a level where it was, where we can win 7-8 games a year, and at least win the games you should win, and then maybe sneak out a couple every season and surprise a few teams.
Yeah, speaking here with Todd Philcox, and in closing here, because I know you got yourself a busy morning, and I appreciate you being here with us this morning on Wake Up Call inside the Cafe Football studios. But the reality that coaches are either running or getting fired, players are leaving, and this list is substantial. This list of transfers from Syracuse is a substantial list. It's no joke, and the thing is, there's a lot of starters on this list. There's a lot of wide receivers on this list. And to me, I just say let's run the numbers. Every year, bringing in true freshman-wise, you bring in about, 20 kids, 18, 20, 22. So let's just call it 20. You got at least 9 people done with their eligibility, and you got 15 leaving. So that's 44 spots. Of those 44 spots, there's 85 scholarships. So you got to fill half a roster. The early signing period is when Syracuse usually gets the majority of their players signed and ready to go under Dino. Well, the early signing period is before Christmas. How are you going to find 40 players? You got 10 hard commits, and that's it. You don't have anybody in the transfer portal coming in. Everybody's running out. And when I look at the transfer portal of all the other teams in the ACC, they don't have as many transfers as Syracuse, and a bunch of them have transfers coming in. So, I guess my question to you in closing, Todd, is how do you argue that Dino, who doesn't reach out to the alumni, who doesn't connect with the alumni, who I've had a lot of you alumni on the show that have said, listen, he doesn't want to talk to us, we don't feel welcome. Some of the alumni got invited back for a day at the beginning of the season and then heard nothing after that. They thought it was a publicity stunt. So you don't reach out to the alumni. You don't recruit locally. Your assistant coaches aren't allowed to talk to the media. Your practices are closed. Then you got all these people in the transfer portal. You got coaches running scared. I guess, from your opinion and your standpoint, why is there a year 7?
Yeah, like I said, it's hard to find that new coach who can bring success to any organization, pro or college. But 6-7 years in, and things do not seem to be improving, and if players are leaving and recruits are not coming in to fill those positions, obviously the direction is not a positive one. when you have to make some changes. And it seems like it's, unless we can get a substantial surprise next year as far as the production and win totals, you just put it inevitable off.
That coming from Todd Philcox here on Wake Up Call this morning. Todd, I appreciate you. I thank you so much for being a part of the show. As always, I look forward to hopefully getting my butt down to Florida soon. I'm missing my second home, but please take care of Florida for me. When it's 30 up here and 80 down there, I will think fondly of you, and please catch a fish for me and do something that's sun-related. So I look forward to talking.
Course this afternoon, so there you go.
Awesome. Well, enjoy the golf course, enjoy the weather, and thank you as always for your time.
Thank you, Dan.
All right, take care.
Merry Christmas and happy holidays to all of you.
Merry Christmas and happy holidays to you too, Todd.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you. That coming from Todd Philcox here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. Happy to have Todd on here. What did he just say? You're putting the inevitable off. What a nice way to, just like a way to button it up, right? Just a way to just tie that up pretty, right? To say it like that. You're putting the inevitable off. Because who thinks Dino is going to go 10-3 or 9 you know what I mean? I mean, you count the bowl game, so that's 13. So 10-3 or 9-4. I mean, who sees that? Listen, again, like I said before, I have a good relationship with Dino. I want Dino to succeed. I'm just looking at what's happening. I'm going beyond wins and losses. I'm looking at this and saying, look at how many people are running out of this program. Just look at the numbers. Look at the numbers. I read them to you last Friday in the Annoying Moment of the Week, proudly presented by Carvel DeWitt. I read those numbers to you. The team that was closest was Georgia Tech with 10. But a bunch of these ACC schools have players coming in. Syracuse has the floodgates just letting everybody out, but ain't nobody coming in. There's no one in the transfer portal that's coming to Syracuse right now. Jeff Canton-Arku's got about 150 offers, and I'm being facetious, but in all actuality, I think he's got at least 20 offers. The linebacker who did a bunch for Syracuse. By the way, I don't think Syracuse is ever going to be in the conversation for the college football playoff, even if it was expanded, as long as things are the way that they are. And we take a look at this right now. I put up the poll. Who will win the 2021-2022 college football playoff? Alabama, Michigan, Georgia, or Cincinnati? 21.1% of you picked Georgia. 15.8% of you picked Michigan. And 31.6% of you picked either Alabama or Cincinnati. So the majority of you believe on our post on Twitter, @CallDT, follow me on the Twitter and make sure you vote in all my polls. It's free. @CallDT, CALLDT. Go there now and vote in our polls. We put up polls all the time. And so you never know when they're going to be up there, but if you follow @CallDT on Twitter, @CALLDT, if you follow me there, you don't have to worry about knowing when we're going to put them up because you'll be the first one to know because we'll be in your feed. So with that being said, the majority of you believe that whoever wins the Alabama-Cincinnati game is going to win the college football playoff. So bring it, Bams, and bring it, Cincinnati, and let's see what we got going in this college football playoff. Love putting out these posts. I love getting to see what y'all have to say. So it means a lot to me. Very excited to see all this. So with that being said, plenty to talk about here on today's broadcast, A Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Of course, we're going to get into the transfer portal conversation here as, you know, it's just, I mean, it's running rampant. It's disgusting. To let you all know once again, Sherrod Johnson, wide receiver, Cooper Lutz, wide receiver / running back, cornerback Adrian Cole, tight end Luke Benson, defensive lineman Joe Rondi, defensive lineman Curtis Harper, linebacker Jeff Canton-Arku, quarterback Dylan Markowitz, edge rusher Lattery Kinsler, quarterback Tommy DeVito, wide receiver Taj Harris, running back Jarvion Howard, wide receiver Russell Thompson Bishop, Cody Shear, an offensive lineman, and wide receiver / tight end Landon Morris are off the team. How about this? How about this? Dino is the offensive guru, right? He a guru, right? He's a guru. Let me say something about this for a second. 4th and 2, 4th and 1, you don't go for it. You got a running quarterback and a running back. That's his job, to run more rushing yards in a season than anybody else in the history of Syracuse football, including Joe Morris. Shout out to Joe. Great guy to interview. Very excited. And I felt like Trump when I said that. Great guy to interview. Very exciting. Very good. Very different. Very, very wonderful. But I mean, seriously. I mean, can we just call a spade a spade? Are we talking football? What are we talking here? Maybe Dino's good at Betty Crocker recipes. I don't know. Maybe he can make a mean quiche. But the football ain't working. Offensive gurus go for it on 4th down. They trust their team. They trust their team. I talk to high school coaches who Dino doesn't talk to here in the community. They go for it. If it's 4th and 8, if it's 4th and 3, if it's 4th and 5. You got a team that's running. You got coaches that are running. This is a red flag. We're not talking about a 5-7 team. We're talking about a 5-7 team that has almost 20 players in the transfer portal. They need to fill like 40 roster spots. They don't have the respect of the community. They don't recruit the community. They don't have the respect of the alumni because they don't talk to the alumni. They don't reach out to the alumni unless they're asking for money. Folks, this is not wins and losses. This is a cultural bad. This might be worse than Greg Robinson because all Greg Robinson did was lose. So this may be worse, people. This may be worse. And I'm sitting here asking myself the question, why is there a need to continue? And again, I don't ever wish anybody not to have a job or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is, why? Why is this okay? I can't even say it's mediocrity, because it's not. Mediocre would be an upgrade for Syracuse. Mediocre would be a positive. The equator line would be met with open arms. But we're not talking about an equator line. We're not talking about getting to status quo. This team is nowhere near status quo. You have left me 44 comments, I believe. And I'm going to have to unpack these and talk with you about them as we go. Because there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to get to. And some of the alumni are giving their thoughts, including this morning. So we'll hear from them in just a little bit. And shout out to my guy, Sonny Spira, who said Todd is great. He is great. Todd's awesome. And so is Sonny Spira. Sonny Spira won't say that because he's humble. But I'll tell you that Sonny Spira is great. Sonny, I hope you had a good time in Georgetown. Obviously, not the way that you want the game to end, but I hope you had a nice time in the D.C. area. I love going down to Georgetown. It's great because then you get to go on a little vacay. And you get to check out our nation's capital. So, want to talk about problems? But seriously, okay? Again, I have had a great relationship with Scott Schaefer. Never had a bad one. And I've had a good relationship with Dino Babers. But if I was sitting in Dino's office right now, I would say, why are you not recruiting locally? Why are you not connecting with the alumni? The basketball alumni feel welcome. Sonny can speak to this. Gene and all that, they can speak to that. Maybe not with everybody at Syracuse do you feel welcome, but Boeheim's not shoving you out the door. Nope, don't come. Don't be here. That's not happening. So to me, that's where I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated with the fact that I would say to Dino, you don't recruit locally, which I've talked to him about publicly. You can go back and check the tape on that because I asked him specifically Stevie Scott and Servassier, Dennis. He didn't even offer Servassier. He said Stevie didn't want to come here. And according to Stevie and other people connected to Stevie, that's not true. So you don't recruit locally. You don't reach out to your alumni. Your alumni don't feel welcome. Your practices are closed. What are you hiding? You've been here for 6 years. Everybody knows what you're doing. So that's happened. Your coaches are getting fired or they're running away. Coaches aren't even staying 365 days. You have more people in the transfer portal than anybody else in the ACC. And you have nobody transferring in. You have all these people. That's the two things about the transfer portal. It's not just that they have the most of the ACC in the transfer portal. It's that they don't have one single player coming in. You don't have a player from Eastern Kentucky. You don't have a player from Alcorn State. Really? Like, you don't have a player from East Bumbletucky, the Indiana University of Pennsylvania through New York via Susquehanna, Mount Pocono, Omaha, Nebraska? You have nobody here. No one. And you know what? You could fill some of those 44 roster or 40 whatever roster spots with local kids, but you won't do that because you don't know them and you don't care. And I think that's what I'm really seeing here. This is a guy who was not born in the Northeast. He hasn't lived in the Northeast. He doesn't give a you-know-what about the Northeast, it seems like. So what are we doing? As Todd Philcox said, you are prolonging the inevitable. Why would a coach come here to coach on Dino's staff knowing that Dino is going to get fired? Why would you come here? Yeah, you know what? I'm going to pack my family. I'm going to take my kids out of school. I'm going to take my wife away from her friends and her job. And we're going to come to Syracuse so that we can get fired in 8 months. Sounds like a plan. Why would you go to a sinking ship? If you don't want to pay the buyout or you don't want to do this or you don't want to do that, that's not our problem. And stop acting like you ain't got money. Stop. This university pretending that it's poor is laughable. It's a joke. Go into your bank account. Some people are rich because they earn and they grow. Some people are rich because they're cheap. So spend money to make a change, because how are you going to sell season tickets? How are you going to sell season tickets? Hey, you know that guy that's done nothing to make us feel like we're getting better? Buy your tickets now. Hey, alumni that don't feel welcome, give us a donation. Like, how are there not calmer, cooler heads sitting in a room up on the hill having a conversation of, we're asking people to do stupid things. We're not even thinking logically. Why would somebody donate money who's an alum of the football program who doesn't feel welcome? Someone who you've never let come to a practice, you just want them to give you thousands of dollars? Like, if you run that by your brain and your brain goes, sounds like a plan to me, your brain got problems. Okay? This is not a witch hunt. We done found a witch, if it was, but this isn't a witch hunt. This is reality. How is a city going to get around a team that's not getting better? How is a city going to get around a team that you don't recruit locally? And stop telling me that these kids aren't good enough. They're good enough for Pittsburgh. They're good enough for Rutgers. They're good enough for Indiana. They're good enough for Buffalo. They're good enough for Nick Saban a few years ago. My Lord, Alabama. He doesn't need to come up here. I am so done hearing these players aren't good enough. Dino said to me, if you can find the talent, call me up and let me know. Well, first and foremost, bruh, I don't have your phone number. Secondly, you don't recruit here. I know the coaches. If you recruited their players, they would tell me. They'd be so excited to tell me. You wouldn't believe who came here. Dino Babers. You know what some of the coaches said? He doesn't even need to offer my kids. Just come to practice. Because if they see the coach of a D1 FBS program in my practice standing here for an hour, a half an hour, these kids are going to fight like hell. And maybe they end up at a different place. But they're going to feel like the coach here took the time out for them, that they care. And you know what? Those parents are going to appreciate it. And those parents are going to come to the games. You have a central and upstate New York community that's wearing Rutgers hats, Indiana hats, UConn hats, BC hats. Because that's where their kids are playing. That's where their kids are getting an opportunity. And stop telling me that they're not good enough. Because what you put together isn't good enough. And you know what it tells me when you have individual talent but collective non-success? It tells me you're not coaching well. When you have individuals that are extremely talented, but collectively as a group, they don't win games, that's a you problem. That's a coaching problem. When you got coordinators just revolving out that door, that's a coaching problem. When you have a guy that'll come into the program, be the wide receivers coach, and not even stay here for a year, that is a coaching problem. There is an issue on the hill. But you know what? I've been talking about it for years. Rob Drummond and I have been banging the drum for years. Why don't you have a local person? Someone who gives a you-know-what about the Northeast. Get a Northeast coach. Get somebody who cares. Get somebody who knows the area. Get somebody who knows the coaches who can recruit the area. I said on this show last week that I can put together a better staff. Okay? And I'm a broadcaster, so some people might be laughing at me. Yeah, okay, Dan, you're going to be a coach? I don't have to know everything. I don't have to micromanage if I hire a David Walker, a Rob Drummond, a Todd Philcox, a Dan Conley. I don't have to micromanage that. Because they're good. Steve Adazio knows how to win in the Northeast. Randy Etzel knows how to win in the Northeast. And don't even talk to me about UConn now because they set that man up to fail. They set him up to fail. When he took over that program for a second time, that program was in shambles. It was a shell of what it was supposed to be. And what he built, he got it out of FBS or FCS into FBS. When he took over the program, they were heading back toward FCS. That thing wasn't going to get fixed in a couple of years. Then they went independent. Come on. UConn is a joke when it comes to football. They're not trying to be successful in football. They don't care. They went back to the Big East for basketball. They sold the cash cow. Or not the cash cow. I don't want to call it the cash cow because it's not. Basketball is a cash cow. They sold football. They sold one of their kids for their other two kids. That's what they did. They sold football for men's and women's basketball. That's what happened. But that's reality, okay? And we're going to get to your comments and get to your thoughts because you all have a lot of things to say, and I want to include what you have to say. So I am going to take a step aside for a fast break and come back, and you and I are going to discuss your thoughts on Syracuse and the transfer portal and how you're handling everything. That's right after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout central and upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? To be cared for, to be listened to, and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skaneateles Lake. Whatever your injury may be from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. We're inside the Cafe Kubal studios every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You're watching on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/livenowdt, and on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. You're also listening worldwide on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, standing for Mix Live Radio, mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, and on the homepage wakeupcalldt.com. Like I said, inside of these Cafe Kubal studios, Cafe Kubal on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse, and their drive-through location, as well as their giant behemoth of a brown stripe building on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, and of course inside of Galasanos Children's Hospital in downtown Syracuse. And you can also find them at 208 North Townsend Street, 401 South Salina Street, and 3501 James Street in Syracuse, as well as on 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York, being served inside of PB&J's Lunchbox Monday through Saturday. So make sure you go and check them out there. So with that being said, it's time to check out your thoughts, your comments on the Syracuse transfer portal. And so many of you weighed in, including Syracuse Orange football alumni, and many that I've connected with. So I appreciate y'all so very much, and I thank y'all for being a part of the show. So it's time to get into your thoughts and what your takeaways have been from the fact that Syracuse has more in the transfer portal than anyone else in the entire ACC of 14 member institutions. Syracuse leading the way. The one thing that Syracuse is leading in the ACC, transfers. Not good. So, with that being said, to hop into your thoughts here on a Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. we'll go to what we got here first. So Duke Pettijohn, former defensive lineman for Syracuse, who I just had on stage at the Wildcat Sports Pub with me, he said, that says a lot about the culture there, and it falls at the feet of the head coach. Nothing will change or improve with him as coach. This is embarrassing. Will Hunter, a former Syracuse player as well, responded to Duke and said, I hear you, but it's the culture of college football. Most of these players will never play another college down. Then Willie Ford, who also played for Syracuse, said, this is happening all over the country. It's the norm. Duke responded, true, but it's happening like this at schools that have coaching changes, not where coaches are staying. And then Willie sent it, and he said you could check every school every year. Willie sent him, Duke, a link. And then Duke said, I don't disagree that this is the norm these days, but they're definitely a culture issue at Syracuse. And then Rodney Wells, who's also an alum of Syracuse, said, bro, this is the situation at many schools, not just SU. Anything goes wrong and these kids jump in the portal. Sad part is that no one is educating them, letting them know that most kids, about 65%, enter the portal and never find a place to go. And Duke said, I do not disagree, but there's definitely something off with the current coach. And then Rodney said, so many new factors, bro. It's going to be really hard to win at SU because of all the other options. They are in a traditionally Southern Conference in upstate New York, and the entire conference is down. Duke said, very aware of that as well, but we can at least be competitive. Rodney said, my players have been shown little to no love from Syracuse. Kids that left the state to go to NC State, Nebraska, Pitt, Virginia Tech, etc., didn't get an offer or visit from SU. Deion Maddox has been doing a great job, so hopefully he can help. So Rodney's even said, listen, my guys are not being recruited. They're leaving the state. They're going to NC State, Nebraska, Pitt, Virginia Tech. So he's furthering the narrative about the fact that Syracuse does not recruit locally and really doesn't recruit in that 5-hour radius, right, from your backyard out, that we don't see that a lot. Will Hunter said, Rodney is actually higher than, but the point is made. And so Will, what was he saying? Where it's warm and facilities are better. And then Duke said, and that's what I'm getting at. I've sent film on kids that I know are coached, and only since Deion has been there has anyone responded. So, and it's true. Deion Maddox, who played at Syracuse, was brought in by Dino, and seemingly to try and improve relations with alumni, and he's been the only one to respond. You know, I've heard positive things come from alumni about Deion Maddox, which is good. That there's one person, that cares here. As far as recruiting locally from the inside out, Michael T. said, what about Andre Schmidt? Portal or outright transfer? He's actually not transferring. Bob responded to that, and he just put up recently that he wasn't transferring. He said it was too hard to leave when he's got unfinished business. Jim R. said maybe they should recruit guys closer to home. Upstate New York has some talent, but never gets looks from Syracuse for the most part. Travis T. responded, it's the current staff. They don't know the Northeast recruiting landscape. When SU was good, they recruited kids from a 5 to 6 hour radius. What did I just say? Okay. So, plus, you had coaches with roots and ties to the Northeast on staff. Adazio, DeLeon, Walker, Mack, Coach B. What did I just say? All guys with deep ties to the Northeast. It's also why Colorado State was offering New York kids when Adazio was there recently. Same reason South Carolina's offering more Northeast kids. New York, PA, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts is due to Coach Lembo, who's from New York City. It's all about the coaches on the staff. Right. Jim said, you are absolutely right. It's a shame that they don't recruit their own backyard. Yes on yes on yes. And then Danny said, because Danny connected to my guy, Daniel Booby Santiago, is basically saying the same thing. His son's being recruited all over the country, not by Syracuse. Jesse L. said, and he's from this area, Jesse L. said, there's almost zero talent in that window, and they can't build a team that would compete in the ACC. People need to get over how things were 20 years ago. Things change. Oh, and Colorado State is offered and not P5 team. Syracuse shouldn't be looking at the same level as they are. I don't agree with any of that. I appreciate the comment, Jesse, but I agree with none of that to say that there's zero talent in upstate New York. That's obviously not true. Servassier Dennis just won a championship with Pittsburgh, and Stevie Scott set a record with Indiana. Jim said, you just made my point. Syracuse is not competitive in the ACC. P5 talent is not coming to Syracuse. They need to try something different. I never said recruit a whole team from New York, but there is and has been talent that they overlooked. Several players have left New York just to play in a different state and now have D1 offers and not from Syracuse. Travis said, whoa, whoa, whoa. By your comment, I can tell you're not in tune with college football recruiting presently. And this was in response to Jesse's comment here. So IMG, St. Francis, Grayson, Georgia, Buford, Georgia, Plant City, Florida, Horizon in Arizona, St. John College High School, all have multiple players from the Northeast, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts. So to say there's no talent, yeah, I'll leave it at that. And SU is a bottom feeder Power 5 school that's lucky that it isn't a group of 5. So the players they need are here in the Northeast. The problem is Babers and staff aren't holding clinics with Northeast high school coaches and helping to teach them their system so that high schools can mimic or implement elements of their offense and defense into their own. This is done all over the country and was done by Syracuse in the past, and grabbing overhyped 3 and 2 stars from Florida isn't working out, but every kid from upstate New York is having success in college at D1. And then Daniel Booby Santiago's dad, put up a post of Daniel, who just won a state title in Arizona. So, and then Danny wrote, this year in 13 games, Daniel Booby Santiago had 53 tackles, 30 solo, 16.5 for losses, 5.5 sacks, and 8 quarterback hurries. Coach Andy Linton doesn't even want to think where his team would be without Santiago coming back, because Utica still was not ready to return to playing high school football. Santiago returned. We had just started our season, and his dad called and said, hey, is Booby allowed back? Linton said. I was like, of course. He had already been in our system. He had been here all spring and part of the summer. When Utica closed its doors, we opened ours. That's why we've gotten a special player, end quote, from the head coach. Santiago was glad he decided to come back at the last minute. So that was shared by Daniel Booby Santiago's father. Then Travis said, the number 1 wide receiver in New York for the 2022 cycle is a kid that plays Class B out in Buffalo and will enroll in January and has a chance to start opposite Jordan Addison at Pitt. But he couldn't start at Syracuse or contribute, but he has a chance at the reigning ACC champions. Your alma mater recruits more New York kids than the only P5 in New York. Makes absolutely no sense, and your alma mater is a better program than SU since the start of the 21st century. So what were you saying about the talent in the Northeast? The number 1 cornerback and number 4 overall player in the country for the class of 24 resides in New Rochelle. 59 of the top 500 recruits for 2024 and 43 from 2023 are from New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New Jersey. So don't push the stereotype of Northeast high school football if you aren't covering, following, and scouting it to know what's really going on, besides what the pay-to-rank sites are listing. Amen. And then Travis said, people kill me with the lack of talent in the Northeast, yet they not out here watching these kids and following them, just regurgitating what 24/7 ESPN rivals or lazy college coaches push without having to do the real work. ESPN 24 rivals don't even have scouts for New York, so how the hell would they know what's going on? Interesting. Rich R. said, and the list is going to get longer, he believes, of those that are leaving. Then my guy Dan Pearson said, haven't read the article and don't know the numbers, but I can say just about every program in the country has a pretty lengthy portal transfer list. It's a new reality that just about every program is dealing with. That's true, Dan. And then I did the research and found that Syracuse has more transfers than any ACC school in all 14 member institutions. Not only that, but they have nobody transferring in as of right now, at the time of me doing the show. Rex Trowbridge, who played basketball at Syracuse, said, for me, Willie's comments hits on the key question, and I don't know the answer. The NCAA transfer portal is new enough that we don't know. Or at least I haven't seen data that will define a quote-unquote normal transfer rate of athletes. The transfers last year from the Syracuse men's basketball program, and especially the Syracuse women's basketball program, certainly raised my eyebrows. And there was clearly a problem with the latter, speaking of women's basketball at SU. But I'd like to see a statistical analysis of the NCAA transfer rates disaggregated by sports to see if we have a particular problem that can be laid at the feet of the coach. I think that I have started to show that with the fact that Syracuse has more transferring out than anybody else in the ACC, including multiple ACC schools that fired their head coach or had them step down. Virginia has less transfers and their coach resigned. Virginia Tech has less transfers and their coach was fired. Miami has less transfers and their coach was fired. Duke has less transfers and their coach and them agreed to part ways mutually. You got 4 schools in the ACC are having a coaching change and they have less transfers. I think that could be a smoking gun in and of itself. So he also said, I also don't know if there's any provision for exit interviews with athletes who put their name in the portal to see if it's unhappiness over playing time, which will always be there, but now has the opportunity to transfer without penalty, or is there a more pernicious problem? My mantra as a career labor negotiator was, in God we trust, all others bring data. I haven't seen any data that would show how we compare to other similar schools or if there's a particular problem at Syracuse. Anecdotes make for interesting speculation but don't necessarily provide facts. So, and Rex, I appreciate all that, and Rex is very well versed, as you could tell by the way he writes. And I would tell you that the data does show that Syracuse has more going out than any other school in the ACC. They have none coming in, which is different. Other schools do have players coming in, even if they've struggled. And Syracuse is doing worse than coaching changes. Syracuse is doing worse than 4 schools going through coaching changes, and that would make sense if there's a coaching change. Also, playing time, Jeff Canton-Arku, Jarvion Howard, and Jarvion didn't get as much now, but Jarvion Howard, Tommy DeVito, Jeff Canton-Arku, Sherrod Johnson, Taj Harris, they were all getting playing time, ample playing time. So there's something to be said about the fact that these guys are leaving and they're not the backups of the backups. Travis responded to Rex and said, I'll look for the data for you. Most of it is based around football, men's and women's basketball, but majority of these kids that hit the portal from a D1 end up at a D2 or junior college bounce backs. This is a problem that every college in the country is dealing with. Wait until the college football playoff is over and watch the number of players from the 4 college football playoff teams enter the portal. And I actually think, and this is not anything that he said to me, I'm wondering if Sean Tucker is waiting for the college football playoff to be over to potentially see how the chips fall and see where the openings maybe open up with some of these big teams. So I don't think necessarily that Sean Tucker is guaranteed to come back to Syracuse is what I'm saying. That's just my feeling. It's not anything he told me. So that's just my feeling. The NCAA created this when they allowed every current college athlete to have a free year. Should have been reserved only for seniors. Then add on the one-time transfer rule where you can go anywhere you want without giving a specific reason and play immediately on top of having 6 years to play 5 seasons. That all coming from Travis. And thank you, Travis, Right, the 1-year transfer rule, anybody can transfer, play immediately. You can go anywhere you want to go without giving a reason and play on top of having 6 years to play 5 seasons. Yeah, I mean, that's like the super transfer or the super senior, like Josh Black and Aaron Service. But that works out for Syracuse because they stayed. Jermaine said, and this is what Syracuse gets for being cheap. These players won a national championship and Heisman. Congrats to them. I don't blame them. Melinda responded, this is more than a cash flow or lack of resources issue. If that were the case, these athletes never would have committed and attended the university. It's true. That's true. Melinda said a lot over the years, and she's well-versed herself. She said, women's basketball part 2, unacceptable and not a sign of the times. And so she said women's basketball part 2 for football, and she said it's not a sign of the times. She believes there's an issue with Syracuse football. BT said, are they leaving on their own accord or told they're not needed? And that's another thing, okay. And then Joke said half the team. Brian said Dino will replace these players with 2- and 3-star recruits like he did when he was coaching in the MAC conference. He's got a lot of things he's got to replace. I don't know. See, the thing with Dino is I don't know if he can make up for how many are leaving. Because, again, if you bring in about 20, you got 9 leaving this year from eligibility, finishing up. You have 15 in the transfer portal. That's 44 players. If you got 85 roster spots, that means you have less, or 85 scholarships. That means you have less on the team than you don't. You know what I mean? That means you have 41 on the team and you're looking for 44. So, you know, 85 is the scholarship limit for FBS and FCS. So, arguably by my numbers, Dino has to fill 44 spots. I mean, let's look at it. why don't we look at the roster? We count them. Let's do a little math lesson today as I read off your comments here about Syracuse and the transfer portal. Let's do the 1, 2, 3. You know what I mean? Like let's read it up and let's take a look at it. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna go through this, but I want to get to all your comments and then I'll do it. Joe M said this transfer blank is the worst thing for college sports, but Babers is killing this team. And then Alan said Syracuse is the transfer portal. Big words. Has some weight to it, though. We won't get better players out of the portal. That's not the trend. So, that's what a lot of you are saying. And this morning, we got more comments that came in. I'm going to get to the comments that came in here. I'll read these off. And my guy, Rob Drummond, who's an alum of Syracuse and also a good friend of mine, he commented this morning. Let's see what y'all had to say here. So we're going to go here and take a look at this. Comments that came in. Oh, we got a bunch of comments. Okay. So Guy T said transfer portal has become nothing more than a way for the, quote, student athlete to hold a school under their control. I say once you enter, your scholarship is immediately taken away and you're not eligible to be reinstated to the team. No going back. You enter the portal, you leave the school. You quit, you leave immediately. Not bad. I don't, listen, having a penalty, I don't disagree with that. But there's also the penalty of the fact that there's musical chairs. And as somebody said, those chairs, when the music stops, a lot of the kids, if they don't find chairs, that kind of is their penalty. Rob said, interesting how people want to punish the kids for leaving, but nothing is done to the coaches. Interesting. And I said back to Rob, very interesting. Seems strange that this isn't looking like a smoking gun to some. Rob said, common sense is not so common. I said, I guess some people have uncommon sense. Rob said, kids are just doing what the coaches have been allowed to do for decades. And he's not wrong. Coaches have been allowed to... Listen, the year that I saw 3 coaches in the same conference all sign extensions in the same month and they all left, they signed 3 to 4 year deals, like 2, 3, 4 year extensions, and they were all gone by New Year's. So coaches don't have to stay loyal. They never have to stay loyal. So we're going to play a little scholarship game, and of the 85 scholarships available for an FBS and FCS school, we're going to take a look at Syracuse's roster. And we're going to talk about how many players are left. We're going to play the roster counting game, and we're going to see what Syracuse really has to find by the numbers. Right after this fast break. Won't you follow me back here inside the Cafe Kubal Studios on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora as we have a Sesame Street morning and we learn how to count together right after this fast break. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have at any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, hanging out with you inside of the Cafe Kubal studios here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You're also watching and listening on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, and facebook.com/livenowdt. Inside of these Cafe Kubal studios, Cafe Kubal on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road in North Syracuse, New York, in Sweetheart Corners at their drive-through location, as well as available to you on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, 208 North Townsend Street in Syracuse, 3501 James Street, and 401 South Salina Street in Syracuse, and inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital in downtown Syracuse. So big ups to all of the wonderful Cafe Kubal locations, as well as Cafe Kubal proudly being served at PB&J's Lunchbox on 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Fantastic food and a big old surprise coming from Wake Up Call that's going to be on the menu at PB&J's Lunchbox. So you can have a little cup of joe and a very special PB&J's Lunchbox dish coming up to you very, very soon. So with that being said, welcome back here inside of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We're speaking about Syracuse and the transfer portal. Let's discuss it, folks, and let's talk about what the numbers truly are. If there's 85 roster spots, 85 scholarships for FBS and FCS schools, then let's play the home game here of how many, I feel like there should be a thing of how many spots does Syracuse have to fill? Ba-dum-bum. You know what I mean? So this is where we are right now. We're going to play how many spots. And that's exactly what we're doing in this moment. So let's take a look at it based on the players that are coming back. Let's see how many roster spots are available at Syracuse. We're going to count it down. Elijah Fuentes-Cundiff. So these are the freshmen. Elijah James Williams, Elijah Wright, Ian Hawkins. Well, I don't know. No, actually, no, because not all of these are on scholarship. So let me do this here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wait, hold on. Let me do this again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so that's 10. 11, 12, 13. Okay, 14, 15. 16. Oh, he might have transferred out, though. Let's see here. 16. we'll call that 17. All right, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 43, 44. They still have the players on here that are leaving. 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55. Yeah, okay. So let's figure out by the numbers. Let's do this by the numbers. I think that I figured this out. Okay. So there's 85 roster spots, correct? Yeah. So he's got to fill like 35 to 40 spots, arguably. He's got to fill more than 30 spots. That's insane. That's recruiting on acid. Because there's a bunch of players. See, because I'm looking at the roster here, and not just, not strictly scholarshiped. I'm just looking at the roster itself. And so I may have counted one or two that are not on scholarship. Yeah. So if he's got like 50, that means 35. It's between 50 and 60. It means he's got to fill about 30 to 40 spots. That's what I figured out. If you take an average of 20 coming in, you got 9 going out eligibility, 15 in the transfer portal, that's 44. So 30 to 40 spots got to be filled. Insanity. Insanity. So there you go. So we got your thoughts and you got my math problem here. And figuring this out. This is crazy. It's crazy. So if you look at scholarship distribution for Syracuse, if we can go to 2022 and just take a look at this. Yeah, this is crazy. So he's going to have to fill 30 to 40 spots, just like I thought. We ran it by the actual numbers, and there you go. Because I did it by raw numbers before, and there you have it. 30 to 40 spots got to be filled. And Syracuse, with the early signing period of December, they've been trying to fill that all up before Christmas. There's no way. There's no way. Unless he starts offering them cash money. Like, there's no way that this is going to get done. I mean, I guess you just wait for all the kids that are left in the portal when the musical chairs stop and they realize that Syracuse has a whole set of chairs they didn't even put in the auditorium yet. How about that? Maybe Syracuse just waits for all the kids to go, wait, Alabama's full? Miami's full? South Carolina's full? Florida State's full? Nebraska's full? Well, I guess I'll go to Syracuse. So, I mean, maybe Dino just has to bide his time and wait for the musical chairs to stop and for them to say there's no room anywhere else, so I guess I have to go to Syracuse. Not a place you want to be in right now. No transfers coming in, plenty of ones going out, and by the numbers, if Dino's got like 50 scholarship play, if you got 85 scholarships to give and you got about 50 in, you got to find 35. And I took out the players that are transferring out. I took out hopefully all of them. So yeah, you got to fill 30 to 40 spots. That's insane. That's insane. But nobody can see the issue. on the Hill. Okay. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, we will celebrate Maine-Endwell Spartans' championship run this year in 2021 to win their 6th state championship. Some teams have never won a state championship. Their 6th state championship in football. Maine-Endwell Spartans head football coach Matt Gallagher celebrates history with me right after this fast break. Greg said, and no one is heading into the program via the portal. How much you want to bet we will hear the excuse of we are a young and inexperienced team as we go 3-8 next year? It's true, man. It's true. No one's heading into the program via the portal. No. As of right now, no one's coming into Syracuse through the portal. That is correct. Nobody. None. This many. Like, that's what I said earlier in the show. There's nobody from Eastern Kentucky. There's nobody from Bowling Green. There's nobody from Southwest Missouri State. Abilene Christian. Nobody? Nobody wants to come? Like I said, it's two big old issues. No one is coming in, and Syracuse is leading the AC and who's going out? The ACC. So you're leading the conference in players that are running away from your program. You have nobody running into the program, and you're in a conference that has 4 coaching changes that have less transfers than you do. That's not good. And on top of that, your record. And on top of that, the only time that Syracuse has been successful is when Dino did it with Eric Dungy and a bunch of recruits from Schaefer. Add into that the lack of relations with the alumni. Add into that they don't feel welcome. Add into that there's some alumni that have said that they have checks that they want to give to the school and all they want is Dino to call them and he won't call, so they're not giving their checks. Add into that you don't recruit locally. Add into that you close the media out more often than not. Folks, this was a problem before it was a problem, and now it's a huge problem that has substantial evidence to support the problem in data. This transfer, you can't just simply say that the transfer portal is bad for everybody. It's really not bad for everybody. There's some schools in the ACC that have 3 players leaving out of 85 roster spots. You know what I mean? Georgia Tech has tried to blow up the offense was there and create a whole new one, and they have less people leaving than Syracuse. And their record's been bad too. So the reality is, this isn't just a portal problem. This is a Syracuse problem. And it would behoove people to start realizing that you can't just blame it on the portal. You might be able to blame it on the Henny, but then you'd be in a Jamie Foxx song. So with that being said, we'll take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, Matt Gallagher will join us from inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, celebrating the 2021 Class B New York State title for high school football for the Maine-Endwell Spartans. Thank you so much for tuning in inside of these Cafe Kubal studios and for being a part of where sports truly meets life.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as where you're watching and listening on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on facebook.com/livenowdt. So I'm very honored and privileged for this moment. He has been with me all the way through the beginning of the season. We featured Matt Gallagher and the Maine-Endwell Spartans going into their season for high school football. So from the beginning of the year when the weather was warm and it was sunny and it was summer, all the way through to where we stand here today, I am so honored and so privileged to have New York State champion head coach Matt Gallagher here with me now. And he's been with us all the way through the postseason, toward the end of the season, into sectionals, into states, and beyond. So, Matt, first and foremost, I just got to say thank you for letting me be along for the ride.
I know it's been a pleasure to have you, and I appreciate you letting us chat, especially the last couple of weeks and from the beginning of the season. So it's been great. I've had a lot of fun.
And I'm so excited. New York State champion. I wasn't worried. I wasn't concerned. I don't know if you were. I was not. So I felt good about it. I felt like obviously this team has been in good hands for a while. So, you talk about championship mindset and wanting to win states from the beginning of the season. That's your mentality. You don't have a small mind mentality. It's not win a couple games, not win sectionals. You're always looking to win states and go as far as you possibly can. So to now be a state champion this season, what does that mean to you as far as the body of work you put in, the mentality you had, and then to see it come through?
Well, it's always satisfying when you accomplish something that you set out to do. And on top of that, I'm just so happy for these guys. Everything that everyone's been through, not just our guys, but everybody. All the football players, not having this chance last year for all these guys, and then, New York State opening things up and then allowing us to, have the opportunity to try to win the big one this year. So, all those things, it kind of fell into place. Our guys worked hard. You always have a little luck, because you can't win the big one without luck. And to be honest, you can't win titles without having great kids, and we do. So it kind of all came together, and we're fortunate.
I look at this game against Pleasantville and what you did in the state championship, a come from behind victory. You win 21-12, but speak with me on having to keep your poise, keep your confidence in the face of adversity, and to be a team who was able to take a deficit and spin it back in your favor.
Well, we always talked about that. Emotion can take you so far, and I might have mentioned that on the other podcast. But that's what we've always talked about. Like, a lot of big things can happen quickly. We could be up by 12. They could be up by 12. Even just a kickoff, the first kickoff of the game could run back, or we could run one back. But all that is emotion and butterflies, and whether it's the first game of the year, and then obviously there might be a little bit more in the dome. But then, when things settle, you still got to play the game of football. You still have to execute. And I think our guys just kind of realize that we're just going to do what we have been doing all year. It kind of worked out for us. The guys they never lost faith in each other, which is the most important thing. They never lost faith in, the body of work that they put in and prepared. So when it got a little rough, they just kind of fell back onto that, and we just kind of chipped away.
Your team's resiliency, just to speak on that, I mean, Maine-Endwell, what you're able to do and what you're capable of, you're not always playing from behind. So when you are, how do you see your team adjust to that, something that they're maybe not used to playing from behind?
Well, that's actually a good point, and it's kind of once again satisfying that the kids can do it. And it's not that I never thought that they could, but sometimes it's good to see whether or not how they're going to react to that. And hopefully throughout the year we prepare them for that, and then they kind of understand that. But it's tough until you're actually in that situation. But I think it all boils down to believing in each other and believing in what we do, and the fact that they knew that they put in the work. And if you can rely on that, and when things aren't looking good, you just have to slow things down, make the game slow down, and then just kind of go back and do the things that you're comfortable doing. And I think that they actually did that. Especially in the second half, I think they came out and did a great job, and allowed us to get ahead and then stay ahead.
Your quarterback, Mike Mancini, him and I had an opportunity to speak going into the season when we did our special from Progressive Dental, sitting down with you and sitting down with the players, and Sonny Spira in the extension of Wake Up Call, Sonny and D. Mike has come up big this season. He came up big in the championship game. Just what you could say about his leadership and what you saw from him in the championship.
Well, I think, Michael's been kind of like in the spotlight for a lot of years, and he's handled it unbelievably. He is a class act, and he's a great representation of what we want for a Maine-Endwell football player. And I know that everybody in our community is proud of him. I know his family's proud of him, and they darn well should be, because he is he's a player. He's a workhorse, and if you get a quarterback that kind of can carry the load, then the team just rallies, and that's exactly what happened. But he's going to be the first guy to tell you that it's not him, it's the rest of the group. And but you need some leadership out there, and he and the other seniors, we had that. So it's going to be left behind for the younger guys to take over now, and the guys that the seniors that were there, they were great examples of what leadership's all about. So I know that's not going to fall off very much next year at all.
Speaking here with Matt Gallagher, the head coach of the Maine-Endwell Spartans, high school football team here for Section 4, Class B, just won a Class B state title amongst all of the sections. And to keep with Mike and some of the other players on your team, now they can say that they're Little League world champions and New York State champions. Very unique what you have on your team.
That is true, and that's kind of, it can be, it's a great thing, but at times it can be a little bit of a burden, because the expectations are super, super high from, the athletes that were on that team, and, they're working their way all the way up through the ranks, through the modified, through the JV, and through the varsity, and people expected a lot out of them, and that's tough sometimes. But I know that everybody that was on the football team handled it so well. And, they kind of, the old pressure is a privilege, right? So they understood that. They took it and ran with it. And, they were able to finish it off in the right way this year. So, excuse me, I'm super happy for them.
At halftime, your team is down by 5 in the Dome in the state championship for Class B here for the NYS PHSAA. What was the message in the locker room at halftime from you?
It honestly was just like I talked about a little while ago, the fact that, guys, we have to just kind of do what we do. And part of that was my fault, doing some different things in the first half that we don't necessarily do consistently. We just kind of said, let's just go back to what we've been doing all year long, what we're good at. And, if we're going to go down, we're going to go down swinging with our best stuff. But, as far as us going down, that kind of really never crossed our minds. We just said, hey, we're just go out there and do what we do, and the job's going to get done. So, and they did it. The great thing about it was that we responded very nicely right after the first half, and the guys went in and put one in the end zone. And then after that, our defense stepped up like they have been all year. And then we were able to control the ball a lot more in the second half than we were in the first. And I think that's what we're all about, right? If we don't score the big one, we usually can control the ball with like long sustained drives, which kept the ball away from them. And that helped us, get the win.
Being in a situation, we talked about your offense where, nobody knows kind of who's going to get the ball. Any one of, 4 people could get the ball. Just what you could say about how that controlled chaos works so well for you.
Well, that is the beauty of our offense. But at the same time, the beauty of it has to be that way can be that way only if everybody's on the same page and everybody understands what they have to do. So that makes it that much more special when things go well, because then we know everybody's clicking. It's not just one guy out there doing all the work, right? So all 4 guys that happen to be in that play may get the ball, and then on top of that, the line has to do their job as well as the receivers, because we do break a lot of tackles, and when our receivers are blocking downfield, that's when things open up for us to get the big run. So and that helped us a great deal. Not being able to focus on one person and having to worry about everybody.
Does it help in recruitment of your players that your wide receivers can block downfield and that they're in an offense where they have to learn how to block and not just run routes?
It may hurt our recruiters more so than help. No, but they totally understand, and you know what? They take great pride in it. The fact that they're going to block, and they know that. But at the same time, we throw when needed, and usually it's a big one. Because there's so much play action involved, so much running involved. So usually when you do throw, those passes are wide open. So lots of times they get a couple of touchdowns. But once again, it's not all about the stats. It's all about a team feel and a team mentality. And I know everybody on the field is all in on that. So that's a great feeling too. We don't even know the stats half the time, to be honest with you.
And I think the beauty of what you're doing and what you're working to do at Maine-Endwell, what you have done at Maine-Endwell, when we look at this team, George O'Leary and I years ago spoke when he was at UCF, and he said, if you want to win a championship, you have to build in the trenches out. He said you win championships on the offensive and defensive line. You build from the inside out. And any coach who doesn't know that probably shouldn't be coaching. They should do something else. Your team wins in the trenches by gutting it out and running the ball and whatnot. And like you said, your defense being able to stifle when you need them to stop somebody. So you've won a championship now, the 6th in the history of Maine-Endwell for high school football. So bring me into winning a championship from the inside out, and the fact that the offensive and defensive line, which never gets enough publicity nationwide or worldwide, how important they are and how a championship is won right there with the hands in the dirt.
And you're exactly right. And that's what we kind of took out with us at halftime. Let our big boys up front take care of it. And that's what we did. We came out and we just kind of ran the ball up between the tackles. And, it allowed us to, like I said, keep a sustained drive. I think it wore down Pleasantville. Our guys were just kind of in the moment and just kind of, were enjoying what they were doing, not having to worry about, doing different things and just going in and doing what we normally do and just taking people off the ball. And, and not only that, but pulling and trapping and different things like that, which is what they love doing. We were able to do that. And, like I said, we were able to control the ball. And then when defensively, a lot of 3 and outs, which was great. I think that they threw the ball so much because they knew that they couldn't run. They knew very early that they could not run on us. I think that was evident in the entire state championship playoffs, that teams just couldn't run on us. And that's because the guys up front and our linebackers just did a great job of keeping those guys from not bouncing it outside, not opening up holes in the middle. I'll tell you, it was a beautiful thing to watch on both sides of the ball when your line can kind of take control. Because then it kind of, as a coach, I know it makes you feel a little bit better. That's for sure.
Yeah, as a coach, just what you could say about. I mean, obviously, you got a touchdown, you throw a long touchdown pass. A score is a score, and it feels great. But when you're running the ball on a team, it's demoralizing. It's aggravating. It's one thing to take one pass, drop back, and throw it over top of somebody and have a receiver go and get it and outrun to the end zone. But it's another thing to just beat somebody back 2 yards, 3. Just keep those heels, just keep moving, and then all of a sudden they turn around and they look at the ground and they see the color and they're in their own end zone. Just what you could say to that not only does your team score, but because you can run the ball so effectively, you really do. You condense the clock, which shortens opportunities for the other team. You make the game a lot shorter, and you just aggravate. I think when you run the ball well, there's something to be said about how just debilitating that is.
Yeah, you're right. And I think in high school, you have to be able to run it to win. And like you said, all of a sudden you think you might have the team stop, then all of a sudden they hit a 6-yarder, and then another 6-yarder, bam, it's another first down, right? So, and then now they have to start all over again. And then once you get over midfield, if you think you can run the ball, it's probably 4-down territory, especially if your defense is doing their job. So to stop a team, consistently on 4 downs, that's super hard to do, I think. So, and we have that mentality, if we're across midfield, the way our defense is playing, you're going to have to stop us for 4 downs because we're probably going to go for it on 4th down. So, that which totally changes the play calling. If it's 3rd and 10, we don't need the big one. We might need 5 yards on 3rd down because we know we're going to go for it. So we need 5 yards on 4th down. So I think it opens up the playbook so much more when you can do that, rather than, okay, it's 3rd and 10, we're going to punt if we don't get it, so then we have to throw the ball. So I think it's a big difference when you know that your defense is going to be able to keep you in the game, which opens up, making the 4-down territory a lot longer, actually.
Being a coach who goes for it on 4th down, and even on 4th and 5, like you said, we're going for it. That's what we're doing. We know we got 4 downs. Just what that does to maybe how you see your offense play freer, maybe your quarterback feel more comfortable knowing that they have 4 downs and not 3.
I think it's a mentality like they don't want to punt. We actually kind of label each of our special teams, and our punt team is Yeti because we don't want to ever see them. So I think that that's the mentality. Like they don't want to ever punt. But they know when we do, the idea of it is to pin them down, especially with our defense, we can kind of flip the field. But most of the time they're out there, they're eager to say, let's just make this happen. Let's get this 4th and 2 or 4th and 4, no matter where we are on the field. But and then they also know that, okay, since it's 3rd and 8, we're not necessarily going to throw the ball. But if it's also 3rd and 3, we may throw the ball because we know on 4th down we're going to go for it on 4th and 3. I mean? So there's a lot of things that actually can kind of open up for us, and the kids get excited about that.
I feel like there's some college coaches you should talk to about going for it on 4th down because I love the mentality. So you get a state championship. We look at, in the history that was made, I think for the first time since 1993 when this tournament began, we've never seen 3 teams from Section 4 move on to the opportunity to win a state championship. Not only did all 3 Section 4 teams that we were talking about move on, Tioga from looking at Section 4 for Tioga in Class D, and then looking at Shenango Forks Class C of Section 4, and then you in Class B of Section 4. You made history getting to the championship game, but then you all went undefeated and won your championship games. When you look at Class D for Tioga, as well as Class C for Shenango Forks, and then Maine-Endwell, your team in Class B, just what it means to you to have already made history, being 3 Section 4 teams to advance to the championship game for the first time since 1993 of its institution of the tournament, and then to all win it and make that history that you made it and you went undefeated when you made it, just what that means.
Well, of course it's special. It definitely allows people to understand how good Section 4 football is. And I think, it is Tioga, it is Shenango Forks, and we've been fortunate enough to be in that situation, pretty decent amount of times. But if you look at, those guys, they're so consistent. Coach Aiello and Tioga and Coach Hogan at Forks do such a great job of getting their kids prepared. They believe in the systems that they run, and I think that's the key, right? Each of us have systems that we believe in. The kids believe in it. If you are going to beat, I think Tioga, Forks, or Maine-Endwell, then you're going to have to beat us at what we do, because you're going to see a lot of it. And I think that's an important piece of that. But on the flip side of that is, if we do what we do, it's hard to stop us because our guys are so confident in those types of things that they know that there's not many people out there that are going to stop us. So, hats off to Tioga and Forks. That's a great accomplishment, obviously, and to be a part of that's pretty special.
Yeah, I mean, you guys definitely took over in the Dome and made it happen. For you to win this championships, the first one for Maine-Endwell, first state championship since 2014, not that long ago, 7 years ago. Some teams have never won one. What can you say about, looking back and seeing that there's been 7 years in between?
It's a long time. So, and I don't want to sound, that it's we didn't win. So, because I think it's an unbelievable accomplishment, and I want to make sure that people really understand that. So when people say that we haven't won one since 2014, I think people really have to understand how hard it actually is to do. Even though we expect it, or that's our expectation and that's our goal every single year, winning one still is a huge accomplishment, and it's something that we definitely want to celebrate. But it has been a long time, and when you have that feeling for a few years in a row, and then all of a sudden it's not there anymore, and you're seeing other people there, like, wow, that I remember those days. Those were fun. So to get back there, and to finish it off, it's super satisfying, especially after the fact that this is a large chunk of these guys were not able to play last year in the state playoffs because there wasn't one. And I think that we had a pretty good team, and we felt comfortable. We felt real good about going into that season. If we were to have one, that we could maybe make some noise. So it was nice to see these guys finish this one off, especially I know they did a lot of this for the seniors that didn't get a chance to play last year.
Is it vindicating? Granted, I know, like you said, seniors moving on, so not everybody was on the team this year, but is it vindicating to have a good season in a pandemic year where there is no postseason, to come back the next year and to take care of business, because the year before you feel like you could have, but you didn't have the opportunity? So is there some vindication to that? Is there some, kind of calling that senior class and saying, hey, I know you guys didn't get to be here, but we did it for you? It's got to be bittersweet because you didn't get to play the games, but then you come back the next year thinking we could have done this last year, and then you do it this year.
Yeah. Well, I really think what is maybe understated a little bit is the fact of how important those 6 games were in the spring. For us to get together and for us to practice for 9 weeks and play 6 games with that senior leadership that we had in the spring, and for these guys to see that and to work with them and to be led by them, and then know that when they left that in April, that they were going to come back in August and be the leaders. And I think that they had a group of seniors in the spring that spread that, that mentality. And like I said, I think without that chunk of time with those guys, being on the field, showing everybody how it was done, how the game is supposed to be played, what it is to be a Maine-Endwell football player, I don't think we would be where we are today without that group.
Yeah, and I think that's such an incredible thing to know that even though they weren't physically on the team for this state championship run, because you had that season in March and you got to play, like you said, those 6 games and have those 9 weeks, that did something for them, hopefully, and their legacy that they left, what you did in those 9 weeks helped to plant the seeds for this season. So even though they may not have physically been on the field, their impact and kind of imprint, I think, is what you're saying was definitely there.
That is 100% true. And I know all the guys would definitely say that. I mean, there's so many there's such a great influences on that team that kind of transferred over to this team that, you can't, you can't deny it. And, you want to celebrate that for those guys. I know a lot of them were texting our guys and super, excited for, being in the postseason and then of course winning the whole thing. Obviously those guys are still nice, still tight, still talk all the time. So it's kind of nice that, I think they feel a little bit that some of this is theirs too, which they should.
That coming from Matt Gallagher, the head coach of the Maine-Endwell Spartans football team, winning their 6th state title. 6 state titles, Matt. I know that, like you said, when I asked you 2014 and now, you said it's been a long time. But to have 6 at Maine-Endwell and all the other successes that Maine-Endwell speaks of in the classroom, on the other fields and courts of life, in general, the community, just when you hear 6 state titles for football, what goes through your mind? What goes through your heart?
Well, I think, of course, obviously you're super proud. But it's something that, we as the football program try to just continue to do and try to make the school and the community proud. And I think, and I continue to say it, is that I think we benefit a lot from a lot of the things that go on at Maine-Endwell. And everybody's kind of in the same boat. They have high expectations. The bar is set super high here. And everybody that's going to, everyone at Maine-Endwell, from when they're a little guy all the way up through, they know that, their time is going to come and they're going to work hard to get there in the classroom, out, on the field, like you mentioned. And, and I can see it because I'm a 6th grade teacher, so I can see it. So I see it when they're younger, and then it's a great thing to see as they're working their way up through the modified JV and varsity ranks, how they grow and understand what it's all about when they get there.
When you're teaching in 6th grade, are you eyeing out your classroom going, that guy, I think that one?
Heck yeah. No, you never stop recruiting. So, but it's a great thing. We mention the community all the time. Our youth sports are amazing at Maine-Endwell for all the different sports, and obviously football is included in that. We have some great coaches and great leaders in our youth programs throughout Maine-Endwell, and I think that it gets everybody involved. We get as many teams as possible, so everybody gets a chance of playing. And I think that definitely pays off for us when we get to the upper grades. That we might take our lumps in some of the youth sports, but every kid's playing and every kid wants to come back, and everybody, that's the goal. That's what we talk about with our coaches, is when they're in the younger levels, is your goal is to have them come back next year and have fun and learn a little bit. It's not about winning, and eventually that will come because they want to come back, they want to play, and they learn some stuff when they're out there playing. So we couldn't be where we are without all the community members and the moms and the dads that take their time to coach and be a part of the league in those leagues in one way or another.
How important is it for you to have those relationships and have the right people in place as you come up the ranks for these kids, that from when they start playing all the way until they get to you, to make sure that you're almost speaking with the coaches saying, hey, this is my message, this is my plan, because they're helping you by how they're grooming the talent and building that talent. So do you kind of have a system of a clear message to the coaches, and they work with you and you work with them, so that they're essentially kind of paralleling you, so that by the time the players get to you, they're prepared for what you want?
Yeah, and that's and I think that's so important for people to understand that. I think that's why we are successful, because they're willing to do that. There's a lot of programs, not just in our area, but with my work through USA Football, going around the country and talking about one of the biggest problems with football is the fact that the youth programs and the high school programs are not connected very well. And I think that's such a travesty, to be honest with you. I think the fact that a lot of schools around here have that, and they're the successful ones. And they're the teams that are successful. They're the teams that get to the postseason. They're the teams that win championships. So, that's why it's so special here at Maine-Endwell, because we have that connection. And there's no, there's nothing that says that, oh, I'm going to do it this way, I'm going to do it that way. It's not like that at all. They want our help. They want the school football staff's help to go down there and help them out. They want that direction, and they take it. And they take it and they run with it. We're there at practice as well. We go to the youth practices, and just to be there in case they need us. And it's a great relationship. And like I said, we could not be where we are without that whole connection.
Best personal moment from the championship?
Wow, that's a tough one. Probably the fact that, obviously winning the title with the team, after such a tough situation over these past couple of years, knowing that they persevered and, knowing everybody went through it, knowing everyone went through it, but then at the same time, them, finishing it off, I think that's super satisfying. And then the coaching staff, how much time that they put in, it's amazing. We ask a lot of them. We ask a lot of the coaches, and they step up. And I know the kids appreciate that because they're spending some time away from their families and and their wives, and it's such a big happy family. That's what we call it, right? The football family. And then on top of that, having my three sons on the sideline was also a huge. That part was kind of special as well. So all those things kind of combined, you can't ask for much better. That's for sure.
What are you hoping your three sons take from you as they try to figure out what they want to do?
Whatever it is that they're going to do is just be dedicated. I really think that's a big thing, a commitment to it. And somebody asked me this question, what would you tell younger coaches? And I think that part is be committed, be there, be visible, let them know you're there at all times, and be there first, whether it's at practice, at games, wherever it is, be there first. So they know that you're prepared. They know that you're going to be there and you're going to give your best every single day, no matter what it is. You have to be visible as a coach, whether it's a head coach or an assistant coach. You have to be visible everywhere. Like if they're playing another sport, you have to be visible there, so they know that you care more about just other than the sport that you're coaching them in, right? If they're in a play, if they're in anything that's going to be special to them, you try to get there as much as you possibly can, because I think building a relationship outside of the football, so to speak, arena, I think is super important. So hopefully my boys, kind of take that with them. I know they're coaching in other sports, and I think that they're doing that. So if they do that, I think they're going to be successful.
And for those that don't know, I love to shout out your three sons. So to tell everybody their names here, give them a little shout out.
Oh, well, Kyle's my oldest, Adam's the middle, and then Drew's my youngest. So, and then obviously with, my wife Julie and I are super proud of them, and, they're doing great things. And I know that Maine-Endwell has been a huge part of their life, and they couldn't be where they are without it. The community that they've grown up in is great. And that goes for all the youth coaches they had, and that's why they're giving back to the youth around this area, and as well as, the faculty and the staff that they had going through the school. So to prepare them for college, and hopefully, that's going to obviously prepare them for life as well.
That coming from Matt Gallagher, representing Maine-Endwell, state champions, coming through, doing it once again here in 2021. Matt, a final note here as we are in the holiday season, and I know that people get festive and they get positive and they be nice to each other. I think we should be nice every day. I know that's a crazy concept to some people, but in a season where we are used to being nice to each other, what are you most appreciative of, and what would be your message to people out there about how we as a human race, not as football players, not as coaches, but as a human race, should step into the new year?
I think you kind of said it. Be nice. That's I have one rule in my classroom, and it's to be nice. And it's so easy to be nice, right? You have to think about being mean. You really do, right? You have to think about ways to be mean. But it's so easy to be nice and to do the right, to do the right thing to the people I just think being nice, that's the one thing we talk about in class. Even on the field, there's sometimes you have to get after some people, but at the same time, you have to, you come back and you give them a little pat and, you be nice. So hopefully that carries over through the holiday season and then 2022. Because the fact that sometimes things get taken away from us pretty quickly, you want to be appreciative of the things that you have and the people around you. So hopefully that's going to continue.
That coming from Matt Gallagher, Maine-Endwell High School football head coach, winning the first state championships for the Maine-Endwell Spartans in their history. First one since 2014. So sweet in 2021 to do it after everything we've been through in 19 months. Matt, you are so much more than a champion. I know that. I've learned that from these last few months of spending with you. I appreciate our bond and our relationship more than anything else. I look forward to seeing you soon. I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. And I'm just very grateful that I've had the blessing this year to be around you, to meet you and sit down with you. And I thank God that I got an opportunity to spend some time with someone that I very deeply respect. So thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate that, Dan. I really do. And thank you so much for doing what you do all the time and for allowing us to be a part of your show.
Well, I look forward to plenty more things to come. In the meantime, take care of yourself and good luck recruiting. I know you already started.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.
See ya.
Cafe Cabal Mobile Cafe brings the cafe experience to you. We'll roll out to your neighborhood or office, ready to serve our locally crafted espresso bar to our loyal patrons. Inquire at cafecubal.com. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, located on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, is home to over 40 flavors with more than 200 flavors in their total wheelhouse. Sky's the limit for this sweet and savory Central New York company. Keep it local at your parties, fundraisers, wedding showers, baby showers, and more by calling 315-450-MA-PA. That's 315-450-6272 for popcorn bars with custom flavors and colors at your upcoming event. Make sure to visit them on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. And for more information, go to maandpazsnacks.com. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
Here at Progressive Dental, we understand the importance of regular dental visits and preventive care. Cleanings and checkups are essential to good oral health. We have multiple locations in the Southern Tier, so come visit us in Binghamton, Endwell, Kirkwood, Montrose, and Norwich. For self-pay non-insured patients, we offer the Smile Plan, which covers all of your cleanings, x-rays, and exams for an affordable yearly price. Call 607-754-2273 or 607-754-CARE to make an appointment today. For more information, visit our website at progressivedentalny.com.
The Millhouse Market, located on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, is worth the drive every single time. Make sure you head out to the Millhouse Market, but download their app before you go on the Google Play or Apple App Store. You'll have everything at your fingertips, from their homemade breads and quinoa bowls, rice bowls, as well as their desserts, their salads, their brick oven pizzas, and sandwiches named after the families that helped to settle today's Pulaski. What an easy app to use, extremely user-friendly. You could go right on there, get all the ingredients and everything that's in each one of their menu items, contactless pay on the app, you can tip on the app, and it'll tell you an approximate time of when your food's ready. You can grab your food and go at the drive-through window and not even have to leave your car. And when you do leave your car for the Millhouse Market, you can go inside for their indoor dining with a bistro menu that changes every weekend. The indoor dining is open Tuesday through Sunday, but on the weekends, it has its own menu, and that menu changes weekly, so you can try something new every week. And they have their general store with local products from local companies, perfect gifts, soaps, as well as children's toys, jewelry, clothing, maple syrup, honey, and so much more coming from local companies at the Millhouse Market, paying it forward all the time. Ingrained in our community and ingrained in our taste buds, they are second to none, and that is why they are absolutely, positively worth the drive every single time to 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York. With that being said, welcome back here to the Cafe Kubal Studios on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Matt had a question for us, and I don't want to leave the show without answering the question. So, with that being said, we're back here inside the Cafe Kubal Studios with some bonus time. So, Matt, I hope you're watching and listening right now. Inside of these Cafe Kubal Studios, he said, what did Notre Dame get in compensation? So, with Brian Kelly. So, Brian Kelly's contract, because normally there's buyouts and whatnot. And so, when we take a look at this, big contracts, big buyouts that we have here. So, we have what's Brian Kelly. Now, Kelly, who spent the 12 seasons at Notre Dame, is signing a massive contract with LSU. Is the largest in college football history. But when we go back here and we look at the buyouts, take a look here and see what it says. Just want to get the numbers here. So there's the buyout for LSU, which I'm not looking for. So we have like some LSU information here on what he'll be making. But as far as the question on Brian Kelly, how much did Notre Dame get? Now, they paid Charlie Weiss almost $19 million to leave. That's interesting. For going back to those moments, taking a look at history. So, okay, here we go. So let's take a look at this. So Kelly, 12 seasons, 113 and 40 was his record. And let's take a look at this. Okay, let's see here. Kelly's full salary at Notre Dame private school is unknown, but it's believed to be north of $5 million per year. Okay. So, I'm not getting exact numbers here for you, Matt. I'm taking a look at this right now. Just to make sure that we have the correct money here. Because there's a lot about what Notre Dame, or pardon me, what Brian Kelly is going to be making, almost $100 million, which is crazy. 10-year, $95 million contract is what he agreed to with LSU. So let's see here. Yeah, this tells what it is here as far as salaries go and as far as money that's going to be paid in buyouts. There's no specific number that I'm seeing here this morning to answer your question, but I will respond with that, Matt. I want to make sure I get you the exact numbers here. It says, I can't believe they let him go out of the goodness of their heart. The reason I'm bringing this question up is the fact that people like to compare coaches' ability to leave and how now players have that ability. Coaches sign contracts as professionals. College players want to be treated as professionals. Fine. Sign a contract. And if you want to break that contract, then there needs to be penalties, such as maybe the school they transferred to paying the original school for the years the transferring player was there, limiting the amount of times a player can transfer. We've got players that are transferring almost every year. How can you build a team if players are allowed to do that? Well, you can't. I've always been a proponent of players being compensated in some fashion, like scholarships actually covering the entire cost of going to school, books included, players getting a stipend of some sort to be able to live like a normal person. I think the NIL, for name, image, and likeness, is a good thing, regardless. The transfer portal is, in its present form, is hurting the college game. Some changes need to happen. I agree. Well, they let NIL come out without really knowing what the heck they were doing. They had more questions than answers. Also, people like to compare coaches and players by saying, coaches leave teams all the time. There's no loyalty there. Why can't players? To an extent, I agree. However, in many cases, not all, but in many cases, many coaches aren't leaving after 1 year. They usually leave after 4, 5, 6, or in Kelly's case, 12 years. We've got kids transferring after their freshman year because they didn't play much or they were redshirted and they may have to compete a little bit the next year. It's true. It's true. There is something wrong with the fact. Listen, anything that's out there can be abused. I tell people this all the time. Anything that's made for a positive purpose can be used negatively. Literally anything on the planet. You don't believe me? The toothpick. The toothpick is used to what? Pick something out of your teeth, right? Toothpick. Pick something out of your tooth. So a toothpick is used literally for that. That's what it's named. It's also used for hors d'oeuvres, and it can also be used to poke somebody's eye out. You can use anything as simple as a toothpick. Anything on the planet that's created can be used for something negative. When you create NIL, there's going to be abuse of that, and there's going to be negative repercussions. When you create a transfer portal, there's going to be abuse of that, and there's going to be negative repercussions. When you allow people to transfer immediately and not have to sit out a year of eligibility, and it's free reign and basically college free agency, there's going to be an abuse of that, and there's going to be negative repercussions. So we're just seeing that. So I understand his point. Is what he's basically saying is, if a coach has to pay a penalty for leaving, then a kid should pay a penalty for leaving to the team because they gave their promise to the team. But I would say this to you. I think there needs to be caveats. I think a player should always be able to leave a team collegiately. I think a player should always be able to leave when a coach leaves. Because if they agree to that coach, and people say, well, you didn't agree to the coach, you agreed to the school. No, you agree to the coach. You might say you agreed to the school, and maybe you like their business program, whatever, but you agree to the coach, okay? You agree to the coach. I would feel that way. If I came to play for Schaefer, and they brought in some random person, but I love Schaefer, and I believed in Schaefer, and this, because how many times have I heard this in a coaching change just at Syracuse, where a guy comes in, and a different coach is there, the other coach gets fired or they leave, and that coaching staff doesn't like him. And even though he's talented, he gets less and less carries, less and less tackle opportunities, less and less time out on the field. I mean, that's a reality. Coach likes to bring in their guys. Sometimes coaches don't like you, not because you're a bad player, but because they didn't recruit you. And if you do well, then it could make them look well, but it also makes the other coaching staff look well. Look at what we're talking about. Dino's best year was with Eric Dungy. He didn't recruit Eric Dungy. I don't think he could have gotten Eric Dungy. But that's just me. So, that's reality here. Is that anything that's being used is being used, anything that can be put out there in positivity can be used in a negative fashion. Matt said, I can't find anything Notre Dame got for his departure. Now, them being a private institution, they may not need to report that figure. And that's exactly what it is. I'm not, Syracuse, it doesn't have to put it out because they're a private institution. So I'm happy you brought that up, Matt, because yes, private institutions do not have to disclose the information because USA Today is pretty good. Well, there's a bunch of places that are good at kind of giving us the money here of who gets what. And so we look at this, Nick Saban makes the most, 9.7. So yeah, because Ed Ogeron was 2. Oh, this is great. This is actually some really good stuff I'm going to use for a future show. Nick Saban's 1, Ed Ogeron's 2, Dabo's 3. Dabo makes 9.5, over 9.5 million a year. Dan Mullen was making over 7.5. Jimbo makes 7.5. Kirby Smart makes 7.13. How about this? Of the top 10 highest paid coaches in college football, only 2 of them are in the college football playoff. That's an interesting statistic. The most expensive coaches to fire. How about this? Jimbo Fisher's buyout is $95.575 million. Dabo Sweeney's is 47.5. Nick Saban's 38.4. Ryan Day at Ohio State's 28.416. Matt Campbell at Iowa State's 28.33. How about that? How about that? Wow. So, yeah. So everybody's like, Dino's buyout's too expensive. It's not $95 million. So, you know, it might be 10, but it ain't this much. So, yeah. Notre Dame may not have to put it out there. So, from what we're seeing right now, just taking a look at all this, there's some really good information in here. Like I said, I'm going to kind of keep as a little nugget and bring out for a future show. But yeah, Notre Dame, I get your point. You know, you have to pay a penalty as a coach when you leave a school. Either you pay it or the school pays it or somebody pays it. In the case of where we are right now, did Brian Kelly have to pay it? Did FSU or LSU pay it, which they could probably pay with the change they have in their pocket? So we'll see. But thank you for the question. I understand the point that you were trying to make, which is the bigger point of the question. So thank you for that. Thank you to my guest today, Matt Gallagher, as well as Todd Philcox. Thank you for everybody giving your thoughts when I put out the question about the transfer portal. Thank you to the fans for giving your thoughts. Finally, make sure you're always giving us your thoughts on Facebook. Like the page at Wake Up Call DT. Follow me on Twitter at CallDT and on Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. WakeUpCallDT.com is where you subscribe for free. And you can also find us on YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. Click subscribe. Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT. Facebook.com/LiveNowDT. All the places to watch and listen. You can subscribe on mixlr.com/WakeUpCallDT and get an email every single time the show goes live. You'll never miss a live show. The email will be sent to all your devices. All you have to do is click and listen. And on WakeUpCallDT.com, you can find everything. Search our archives on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora by searching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on Stitcher, Spotify, MixLR, YouTube, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Podbean, and TuneIn. And, of course, a proud thanks to all of our Central and Upstate New York partners, Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Progressive Dental, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. Any one of the 50 states can order from Ma and Pa's, and you can get their entire menu at maandpazpopcorn.com. Order there and enjoy that wonderful gift of giving this season. You can get one for yourself and give one to another. The holiday tins and all of the tins are 50% off refills lifetime. So make sure you buy your tin online today at maandpazpopcorn.com or by going to 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Buy your tin. So not only will you get your kettle corn, but it'll be 50% off for the rest of your life. Avicoles, as well as Progressive Dental, I might have said them, but they're worth saying again. Shout out to my guy Sonny. Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Pizza Man, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Millhouse Market, the Lemoyne Dolphins, PB&J's Lunchbox, Honda City of Liverpool, Mother's Cupboard, and Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is also the proud multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It's Fins Up every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Set it and keep it. Every first and third Wednesday, AD and DT episodes air featuring Athletics Director of Lemoyne, Bob Beretta, and myself, Dan Tortora. Every second and fourth Wednesday, we have the Dolphin Dive, where I get to tell the stories of student athletes, coaches, and staff members of Lemoyne College, why they chose Lemoyne, and what it means to them to be a Dolphin. Their journeys are every second and fourth Wednesday. And, of course, there's specials all the way through. Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT is where you go. Facebook as well as YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT to watch live every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Wake Up Call DT, for all of our Lemoyne content. Also on WakeUpCallDT.com, go to the Lemoyne tab. And, of course, I sound like an old, mob guy in a movie. And, of course, make sure you go to LeMoyneDolphins.com. Pacer Pride every single month. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is the proud multimedia marketing partner of the Marywood Pacers, my alma mater. You can find our Marywood shows on our YouTube channel. Go to YouTube, Wake Up Call DT. YouTube.com/Wake Up Call DT. Click subscribe. Or go to your YouTube app and type in Wake Up Call DT as one word and click subscribe. You can get all of our Marywood shows there. You can also go to the Marywood tab to get all of our content on wakeupcalldt.com. Click on Marywood on the website, wakeupcalldt.com. And Pacer Pride episodes air on Fridays here on Wake Up Call. And of course, you can check out MarywoodPacers.com for more information. With that being said, I hope you have a fantastic day. And I hope you stay safe. Thank you to everybody that listened and watched the show this morning. Thank you to Todd